نرحب الآن بالسيدة ماغدالينا موك. Welcome Ms. Magdalena, the CEO of ICF Global, الرئيسة التنفيذية للاتحاد الدولي للكوتشنج، لتقدم كلمتها التي تعبر عن الرؤية العالمية للكوتشنج ودوره في تمكين المجتمعات وصناعة الأثر.
Thank you so very much. I'm not exactly sure what they were saying about me, but I am absolutely delighted to be here. One of the colleagues, when we were talking earlier, was laughing that I never left Saudi. That's why I'm back in Saudi. And I'm very delighted and honored and privileged to be here. And on behalf of Global ICF, Your Royal Highness, distinguished guests, all the speakers, all the participants, it is a very joyous occasion that we are here gathering at the summit in Saudi Arabia. So I don't want to take too terribly much of your time, but just quickly, how many coaches do we have in the room? Yeah. How many coaching enthusiasts do we have in the room? Okay, even more. That's great, because this is what we hear all along, that coaching is growing in the world, and coaching is particularly growing in this area of the world. So, yeah, that's me. For those of you who do not know ICF maybe that well, we've been established in 1995, meaning we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the existence of ICF in the world. And although starting as a predominantly North American organization, currently ICF is a happy home to about 60,000 members in 160 countries, and also has a close to 60,000 credentialed holders, which is a strong sign of commitment to excellence and quality. We have 140 chapters around the globe, including 11 in this region, and I think each and every one is represented today in this room, so thank you guys for being here very much. I also want to recognize my colleague Jihan, who serves on a professional coaches board of directors for Global ICF. ICF is a home equally to internal and external coaches, growingly to leaders using coaching skills, and also those who are offering team coaching, not to mention that we accredit coaching education. I'm mentioning it as a context, but also because there are certain characteristics of this particular region that I think finds the good reflection in who we are as an organization. Yesterday, I had a good fortune of going and visiting the National History Museum. And for those who've been there, you know it. For those who haven't been there, go. There is a beautiful movie in, 15 minutes, talking about the modern history of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And as I was listening to it and listening about the King Abdulaziz and what he's done, and what a vision that started the transformation of the country, starting with unification, starting with modernization, with safety and security, definitely innovation, so that the people of the kingdom could thrive. And this is where we come together today in an unusual way between ICF, the coaching organization, and the region, but especially the kingdom, where the purpose of ICF, coaching, enabling thriving societies, so beautifully aligns with Vision 2030. And we do talk, even in the opening, we're talking about human capital, purpose-driven leadership, and being able to create the environment where people have opportunity to thrive and contribute in the best possible way ever. As I mentioned about coaching market, we, ICF, we pride ourselves at doing a lot of research. The market research primarily with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and we just released on the 26th of September, in fact, we just released the most recent study that points to the fact that coaching, professional coaching, that's important. What we consider professional coaching is a service delivered by somebody who has been trained to do it, rather than they like the term, maybe went to a weekend class and now present themselves in the marketplace as a coach. So the revenue globally coming from coaching reached over $5 billion US, and the total number of professional coaches reached a record of 123,000. Again, those who are professionally trained and primarily spend their time coaching. I mentioned about ICF credentials. It seems to be a very well shared thought that coaches need to be trained, coaches need to be able to show their credentials, no pun intended, so ICF credential is definitely one of those. And also there is an unwavering optimism in a coaching field. Coaching is growing. We hear about it more. We don't see as many surprised faces when you mention coaching. And there is the optimism in the field that it will continue to grow because of the results it delivers. For years, we were talking about VUCA word, and now we're to BANI. End of life. BANI stands for brittle. Everything is so delicate. Disruptions are more common, and therefore the base is less strong. A for anxious. Again, we have so many things happening every day that it's difficult to stay calm and on course. Something will happen. It's not may happen. It will happen. We just don't know what, how, and when. Nonlinear is possibly one of the most difficult distinction of the modern era because things don't happen in a logical frame. They happen. And it's much, much more difficult, if possible at all, to prepare for non-linear future. And finally, incomprehensible. Things like even the pandemic, that didn't happen for a long time, so we were not even considered something of that magnitude happening to us. So we do have our BANI world, and this is where the MENA region comes to play, because as coaching is concerned, we see tremendous growth in the area, and not just for coaching, but you just talk about any field, any industry, you will see the names of the MENA countries popping up as the hub of innovation, of investment, and societal or social transformation. And this is great, because coaching, again, can be such a powerful empowerment that individuals and organizations, systems alike can adopt and can use to their best possible outcome. So sustainable growth is again aligned with ICF values. The focus on individual and collective together is also very important in our general approach. And what we see in coaching, one may argue, I would be the first, to say that coaching is in a way responsive to the issues that we see in the marketplace. When marketplace starts giving us signals, something needs to be maybe accelerated, something needs to be slowed down, something needs to be fixed, something needs to be done in a different way. This is where we notice those signals, may them be even weak signals from a marketplace, and try to address them. On a list, definitely for so many organizations, but individuals alike, is the future of work. how we work together. We see multi-generational workforce, multicultural workforce, hybrid, you name it. There are so many ways that right now are impacting the way we work, the way we relate, the way we manage and lead. AI and technology cannot be possibly excluded from any conversation, either in coaching or otherwise. Again, a very nice connection of how coaching can bring technology to the marketplace or eliminate the fear of AI in the marketplace. I already mentioned, some would argue that there are in certain countries, certain regions of the world, there are 7 generations working together side by side. And it is quite a headache for any leader or manager with their own generational bias to be able to manage such a workforce. And there are definitely ways that coaching is helping in establishing frameworks for a much better understanding within those different generations and cultures to work together. Systemic coaching, nobody's an island, trying to see the bigger picture. Somebody recently used a very interesting term I like, panoramic leader. So the leader cannot look just at one thing that is in front of them at any given time. They have to look into the entire enterprise. Maybe that's entire team, maybe that's entire project. Panoramic, because everything matters when it comes to the final decision that is the decision best for the outcome. I mentioned team coach already, very fast growing facet of the coaching services, uniting the teams again around their outcome or their purpose. Leaders using coaching skills, this is something that is growing everywhere, and most organizational clients of our coaches would say that that's the area that they invest the most, because they believe that the leader of the future, there are different demands on the leader of the future. It is not command and control anymore. It can't be, because especially the younger generations are not necessarily responding to this kind of leadership. So a leader of these days has to be flexible, has to be agile, has to be vulnerable at times, has to be curious, has to be inviting and including. So leaders learning those skills to be better at their job is not an easy, frankly, endeavor, but something that has to happen in modern organizations. We see a huge increase in coaching and education, music to my ears, because the sooner we offer leadership development skills, the better those younger people will be coming to their work, the better prepared they would be becoming to their work. And finally, we of course observe coaching in for-profit sector, in public sector, in governments. But recently, we also see quite the uptake on coaching in not-for-profit organizations or organizations looking into social progress. And why coaching? Plenty of coaches in the room, I don't have to explain it to you. However, because coaching does carry that transformative power. It's at the individual level, it's at the leadership capacity level, and it finally is at the organizational level with empowerment of the workforce. So how do we empower growth? That connects with the theme of this conference, right? Growth, empowering growth. Coaching can definitely work with the individual. Oftentimes, when we do studies about the impact of coaching, the first cited would be, I became self-aware. And everything starts from self-awareness. Some would maybe not use the same term, but they would say, I'm more confident in my decisions, in my opinions, in who I am. Others would say, I can communicate with greater clarity, which then creates a better understanding in my teams. We already said human capital is what matters most. The best organizations, the best structured organizations cannot exist without the humans that are behind the job descriptions and particular responsibilities. So purpose-driven leadership is the one that can actually think about the purpose of the organization and then translate it into the work of each and every person. So they don't say, oh, you know, I just turn papers every day, but rather they'll say, I am helping research on something that changes people's lives. Some of you may know that famous statement that then President Kennedy in the United States came to NASA and he found a gentleman cleaning the floors. He said, what are you doing? And instead of saying, I'm cleaning the floors, he said, I am putting a man on the moon. Because that person so understood the purpose of what NASA was doing at that given time. So leaders these days, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, leaders these days are responsible for being able to clarify that purpose and to communicate it clearly to people that work alongside. SFDA. My last visit here, we did visit, and the mission and vision stated about the safety of the citizens. It was like, you can't argue with that, and oh my gosh, is it anything more important that keep people safe, right? So noble work, either you are cleaning the floors in a building, or you're a top researcher or a top official in the organization. And finally, we know from research that organizations that have coaching cultures, that do use leaders trained in leadership skills, that do have internal and or external programs, they have a much greater engagement of their workforce, and that's important. We all hear horror stories about disengagement of people, very, very low percentage being engaged. My personal terrifying news, how many people are actively disengaged, and that actually goes against every effort of the organization to be successful. So again, many of you not only are coaches, but I'm sure experience coaching yourself, so you know it. You know that when you work with the coach, you just start seeing things in different dimension. And it's not just different dimension, it's the dimension that allows you to see other dimensions. So this is that self-awareness, this is that ability to bring different perspectives together and to distill the best answer on that. Coach is such a partner in that journey and a catalyst for some thinking that perhaps otherwise would not have happened. I'm watching time, so the purpose, we talked about it. The purpose is what unifies people. The purpose, people can do things for less, for longer, for harder, if they agree with the purpose of the organization they are doing it with, not for. And that's a very important distinction as well. Purpose unites the top person with the yesterday hired individual. Purpose is what has to drive the strategy. Purpose is what needs to, as I said before, needs to be communicated clearly and needs to be tied to the job description and the performance of each organization. So that purpose is something that's the glue. That's a glue. And again, coaching can help clarify that purpose. And again, to be able to communicate it in a way that it's understood, embraced, and acted upon. Lucky enough, maybe because we've been around for 30 years and we do so much research, we have very, very powerful information about the outcomes, about the what people say about coaching and impact of coaching on them. I'm not going to read those slides, but as you can see, probably the one that I like the most is that 89% of respondents to the study say that coaching has to be a part of a strategic direction of the organization. And the impact on organization, it's not just nice to have. When you start talking money, that's not just nice to have. Coaching, establishing coaching programs and coaching cultures are not always inexpensive, especially that they need to be established with the patients in mind. Coaching impacts are not always observable immediately, or their impacts and growth can be observed further down. However, what we learned from our research, and that's also with Human Capital Institute, is that organizations that do have coaching cultures financially outperform Standard & Poor Index by 17 to 35%. That's a lot. And for all of you who have to maybe talk to your finance department about expanding coaching program, that's a powerful number to have. So we often say that measuring impact of coaching or ROI of coaching is not always the easiest thing to establish, because coaching interventions, coaching programs are not always set up from the beginning to improve a bottom line. Eventually, you can walk it to it. But it may be better communication, better teamwork, more timeliness, faster decision-making. So the return on expectation from coaching is something that we pay attention to. And this is also something that many of our colleagues here, I know, in their coaching programs have already embedded in their structure of evaluation, which is absolutely fantastic. Coaching also is a huge, huge support to change management, and that's important because pretty much all of us are in a constant state of change. And again, speaking of results, what you see in here are the results for the recent winners of ICF Impact Award, award that is presented to organizations that use coaching to support their strategic positioning. So the first one is the medical institution, AstraZeneca used, of course, the pharmaceutical, Intel, everybody knows Intel, International Trade Association, Cleveland Clinic, and SAP, the technology company. As you can see that they reported some fantastic results because they implemented their coaching programs within. You can find case studies of those organizations on our website, coachingfederation.org. But we don't necessarily have to go far to see the fantastic results. These are for Saudi Electric Company. I know that we have some colleagues from SEC here, yeah, there you are, in the room, and these are the rather astonishingly great results for their coaching program, right? Another one, this is the OQ, so this is Omani oil industry, also representing, that was actually a winner of our award as well. So you can see that this is improvement in performance, improvement in satisfaction. When people are satisfied, they stay. In people that are satisfied, they wanna learn more and do more. Recruiting and training is much more difficult and more expensive than retaining. So this is something to be really, really taken into consideration. This one is for the very interesting Omani and Indian fertilizer industry, that's right. And again, you can see that when people understand those strategic goals, they know what to do, they know how to talk about it, and they know how to perform better. As I mentioned, the IT and technology is absolutely everywhere. And in the interest of time, I'm going to skip it a little bit, but ICF is very, very involved in discussions about how AI is impacting coaching, how it can support the coach, how it can support the client, how it can support the organization that is willing to utilize coaching solutions within. And we are leading the way in coalitions of coaching developers because they are brilliant. And sometimes they may miss something about what coaching is all about in favor of what technology is all about. So we are truly leading a way with that particular aspect of novelty in the coaching field. So I started talking about it at the beginning, that coaching is an enabler. Coaching is not a fix to everything and anything. Coaching has to be applied in a systematic and systemic way. It has to be applied where it presents and delivers best results. It needs to be applied often in conjunction with other modalities. So this is the importance of understanding the whole field and being able to bring coaching where it really works best. What we do know, however, is that it works in any size of company, any sector of economy. As we already said, government, for-profit, not-for-profit, it's all great. It is considered a strategic tool rather than nice to have. Anymore, it's not reserved just for the C-suite, but rather offered to people, greater number of people in organizations, so that those leadership skills are being developed earlier in people's professional career. And again, signals from the marketplace, what can coaching do, where can coaching be applied best for best results. So if we were to summarize, there is always fun to summarize, if we were to summarize very quickly about why coaching, one would say is because it is a powerful strategic tool. It elevates cultures. And that culture is a strategic choice for the organization to bring in for their people and for their outcomes. There are proven results. You're going to hear from several other fantastic organizations during the conference talking about their experience with coaching, good stories, not so good stories, stories of learning anyway. That can support your own thinking about coaching, future of coaching in your organizations. So oftentimes, it has to start small. You have to have that sponsor. You have to have that energized person who believes in coaching, who wants to see it happen, and who would go long ways, and are patient. Me, not so patient. And yet, here I am with ICF. But it is really important to make sure that when you bring coaching, you have a plan. You have a plan, and you have the plan that is reasonable, is actionable, and that you have a bench to support that initiative from the very beginning. So in our future, and again, the Vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia, the initial amazing vision of King Abdulaziz, the mission of the ICF, I think we're in it beautifully together, because with the purpose, when we define it, it unites. Coaching, we often say, coaching empowers. empowers an individual, empowers the organization, empowers the system. And then finally, that culture, when it's there, when it's embedded in the organization, that's what delivers. So with that, I wish you a very, very successful conference. I know it will be, and thank you for having me.